within days of my father winning his 18th All England Championship, I was born in London. So it certainly started badminton right from the very beginning. After I was, I think, only a few months old, my parents went to Canada. My father had given up competitive play, he had retired. And having travelled to Canada twice with a British Isles team, when he gave up, they wanted him to come and coach. And so it was Winnipeg. And we were in Winnipeg for 4 years while he was at the Winter Club there, which was a beautiful club. I've seen pictures. I obviously don't remember from 4 years old, but a lovely club with swimming pool and curling and all that sort of thing. And after that, he was moving from Canada. I think he had his idea of going back to England. But before that, New Zealand had requested that he go for 2 to 3 months to promote the game, to give exhibitions, to coach. And so in 1936, I think it would have been probably about July, August, he left myself, I then had a young sister, and my mother in Winnipeg, and took the boat to New Zealand. And then he went to New York, where they wanted him there. And from New York then down to Baltimore. But right up to the age of 6, I suppose, badminton, 6 in my life, badminton was what I knew he was doing somehow or other.
So you settled in Baltimore when you were about 6?
I would have been, yes.
So you were brought up American?
I was. I spent 24 years there. My school and college and some of my working life.
Tell me about starting to play yourself.
Well, I wasn't able to play when I might have liked to start. I had flaking cartilages in my knees, and in those days there was not much to be done except rest. So I was allowed to swim, but I was not supposed to play wild games of any sort, badminton or anything else. So I was a bit restricted until I was about 12. And there was a club near where we were living at the time, and a juvenile club, and I played a bit with them. And that's how I actually got started.
Did he coach you?
He did. Not in that club. It was nothing to do with him. But in badminton in those days, there were a lot of private courts, and Baltimore had several of them. And he was very involved with them because he would have still been doing a bit of coaching, though he finished fairly soon after that. But and so it was a chance that he might take me to one of these private courts, and we might have a little bit of a game and that sort of thing.
What was he like as a coach? Was he a perfectionist?
He was fabulous as a coach. I think he should probably have been a teacher of whatever subject might have been, anything other than a sports subject, because he was a fabulous teacher in every way. Made things simple, didn't get cross, explained how you did things, showed you, and was very, very patient and very good.
When did you realise you were good?
I don't know that I ever have. I think when you have a younger sister who is the best in the world, it's hard to believe that you are super duper yourself. But I suppose in 1947, the American Badminton decided that they should have juvenile championship, national championship under 18. And I would have played in that first championship, which was held in Baltimore, so it was very handy. And my mother, in particular, was one of the ones on the committee doing a great deal of the work. And I managed with a girl I was at school with, one of my father's pupils, just a year older than me, to win the girls' doubles. And I still had 2 more years under 18. And in fact we won it a second year, and the third year I won it with Judy. So I was starting to believe maybe I would be able to be reasonably good at this game. I was loving it anyway, so that bit didn't really enter into my mind.
Talk to me about Judy. How much younger was she than you, and how aware were you, and when did you become aware that she was something special as a player, both singles and doubles player?
Yes. She's 4.5 years younger than me. Obviously very athletic from the word go. We were on some of the school teams, such as tennis and badminton, where we would have been probably a class better than most of the other, it was girls' school. And certainly by the time we got to, I suppose it would have been about 1953, we were playing adult tournaments on the East Coast at that stage and doing well. And she was already doing extremely well in the singles, and it was obvious that she had something special. She was going to be very good.
Did you always concentrate more on doubles?
I preferred doubles all the time. I like working with somebody else. I enjoy that on a court, and I don't really like getting out on my own and having to have all the attention on me alone. So I think I was naturally a player for doubles.
So you linked up as a doubles pairing and became very successful from the very start then?
That's right, yes. I mean, we won her first, it had been her second junior national, but the first one I played with her in, we won. And from then on, I think she won about another half dozen, because she was still very young. She was only about 14, so she had 4 or 5 years to go.
Do you remember the first time the two of you went abroad to play?
I can never forget it. It hadn't ever dawned on us that we might possibly play in an All England. But we had been up in Boston playing in the US Nationals, and this would have been 1953. And Judy had won the singles. No, she had lost in 3 games to Ethel Marshall, who, had she had the chance to go to London, would definitely have won an All England. She was very good, but she was at the end, near the end of her career. Judy had lost in 2 very close games in the singles to her. And we had fought our way and won the doubles together. And we were just thrilled and delighted. And that was it as far as we were concerned. And that was the end of the season, and thought no more about it. And would have been part way probably through the next season. We had a letter inviting us over to the All England Championships and to play in Glasgow the week before. So being over for 10 days or so. And we couldn't sort of fathom how anybody had been paying any attention really to US badminton at that stage, or ours anyway. But we ultimately discovered that the man David Bloomer running the Glasgow tournament had been in Boston. He had obviously seen Judy, he'd seen us, we were quite young, and had won as well.
How young now at this stage?
It would have been, I would have been just about to be 22, I think, 21, so she would have been 17, 18.
Right.
And he obviously thought, well, this might make something different for the international exhibition tournament that I have, and maybe the All England would like to share the expenses on bringing them over, because there was no way we could have got there otherwise. So that obviously was what had happened, but at the time we didn't know why, except it was lovely to be asked, and we had won a national.
And what happened when you came over?
What happened when we came over was that we went straight, as I remember, we flew to Prestwick, where we were met, and there were various Swedes and English and Scottish and Irish there as well. And we played in the tournament. I don't think there was a ladies singles. There would have been a doubles and a mixed doubles. And as I remember it, we lost the first match. Now, before this, when we had been invited over, we really had no idea how our standard would compare. We just had nothing to go on. So we weren't surprised, but we were a bit annoyed when we saw what happened in the next round, because we reckoned we could have beaten the next pair if only we hadn't lost to the first one. So that was the end of that tournament, and the whole lot of us went down to London. And when it came to the All England, we won it. We had learnt. We knew the pair that we had were the holders. We had watched very carefully. We thought we knew how to do it, and it worked.
That must have been an astonishing achievement at that time.
I don't think we really understood it. I mean, looking back on it, yes, I suppose it was. But at the time, it was, I don't know, it was just what was happening to us, and we didn't think very deeply about it. It was a wonderful chance, and wasn't it lovely? And our father had won this so often, and etc. But
and you were in England on your own, the two of you, at this stage.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So what did you do? Phone home?
I wish we could have. And we were very lucky. We were staying with, in London, we were staying with friends of our parents whom they'd known when they were in England. So that was, not that we knew them, but that was a great help. We had a grandmother and an aunt who were living fairly close by. And we had the grandmother and the aunt in the audience, and we really felt wonderful because nobody else would have known us. And we were beating an English pair, so that was particularly, looking back on it, that was rather satisfactory. But at the time, all these things really didn't impact on us. So that was, it was really, only later we realized. I think our parents heard through the Baltimore newspaper,
really,
who knew we were going, and I think they either rang them. I think they rang them to find out what had happened.
And in fact, it turned out it was the start of a long and very successful relationship with the All England for both of you.
It was. That was the first one in '54. The last one I played was in 1966. And Judy played 67, and I think she played one more with one of the English girls. So yes, it was a long period there.
What makes a great doubles pair?
I think you've got to think along the same lines as to what you're trying to do on the court. And I think you've got to be aware very much of your partner and what they can do or should do. And that you do really play. You do not play as two individuals. You definitely play as a team and for each other, and thinking of each other at the time.
So, do you think it made you extra special that you perhaps understood each other particularly well? You'd learned together. You were sisters.
I think it did. I think there was. I mean, if we watched a match of some sort, we would see the same things and notice the same things while we watched other people play. So we had very much the same ideas as to what shots should be played, taking always into account how your partner was going to, what position she was going to be put in if you played such and such, but very much along the same lines, yes.
Any tension between you at any stage along the years?
The only tension we had, we were very good friends, and because she was such a good athlete, she was playing a lot of the sports that I was. We both played hockey and lacrosse after school as well as on school teams. And she knew a lot of my friends who were a more athletic bunch, I think, than her classmates. But the main tension we had was one of our very early tournaments where we had been given a bit of money. We were, I think, staying in a hotel in Piccadilly, and we'd been given a little bit of money to find a meal, and we hadn't a clue about pounds, shillings and pence. And we were trying to divide this up on the bank, on the bed, as to whose was whose. And I remember she got very cross with me. I don't know why, and she threw a very wet face cloth at me, and that was about the extent.
That was
of
the height of it. What made her so special as a singles player?
She certainly had the mental capacity to put the shuttle, to know where the shuttle should go, and the physical capability to do it. She definitely, I didn't see my father play at his best, obviously, but he did play with us even up to even until he was 60. He helped us and he played with us, and he had a fantastic knowledge of the shuttle and where it might go and this, that and the other. And I think she had that too, partly from him and partly, I think, naturally. She was a very good athlete anyway, so she was a good mover and she was strong. And I think that plus the mental capacity and the will to win.
She was so good for so long. What do you think was motivating her? How did she manage to keep going?
Well, I think it is summed up perhaps in a statement she made to me after she had retired, in which we were talking about how different it is, or it certainly was then, to become good. And she said the one thing she regretted was she was not able to spend a season or more to see could she get that much better, because she felt that perhaps she could have, but she had a job, she was a teacher, and she couldn't spend days away or days training, and she would have loved the perfect shot. I also remember, I think she mentioned it, and my father certainly mentioned it, that the feeling of playing well and playing the perfect shot was one that was absolutely wonderful.
So even though she won and beat everybody, what she really wanted was to be even better. She felt she could have been even better.
She would love to have known,
yeah.
Could she have got better than that? Yes, given it a full-time commitment.
Did you find it difficult to play with other people then when you stopped playing doubles with Judy? I mean, it must have been a big change to play with anyone else, or did you still just love doubles?
Well, I still enjoyed doubles. I did feel that I was probably doing much more mentally playing with other people than I just slotted into it and we thought together and that was it. Depending on my partner, if it wasn't her, I felt I'm having to do a lot of mental work on this. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, but I did feel that being aware of who I was playing with and what they could or couldn't do and where we should have the shuttle.
Even though your father's Irish, you were brought up American, and you were two American girls coming and winning the All England, but you ended up back here. Tell me all about the Peard connection.
Well, the Peard connection would have been started on our first trip, 1954, when Frank and Jim were also in the exhibition that we had. But other than that, other than coming back various times for the All England, we didn't meet each other very much, and Frank didn't play in every All England that I played in. So it took a few years from 54 to 1960, because across the Atlantic isn't so easy.
Mm. And then after 1960, when did you actually move to Ireland then?
Well, we got married in July of 1960, and after a honeymoon in New England, came to Dublin. Frank had taken a year out from Guinness's to spend in America, to learn from the Americans, but I'm not sure how successful that was, because I think at this stage Guinness was pretty well top of the bunch. But it was a culture shock.
Coming here.
Coming here.
Yes. Tell me how.
Well, it was a culture shock climate-wise, very much so. Baltimore has summers in the hundreds in July. I played a lot of tennis, so there were no hot summers. And it was a culture shock in the winter because I was used to central heating and the houses were very cold. So I also had to get to know people. Now I had met a few, obviously, through the badminton. Mary Bryan, Yvonne Kelly, Chick Doyle had all been invited to the sort of tournaments that Judy and I had been coming over for. But I had to meet more people, get new friends. I joined a tennis club. I played in Lansdowne, so that gave me an opportunity then. And the badminton season obviously gave me an opportunity.
Yeah, sport did help you integrate, I'm sure. Would have been a lot harder without it.
I've often said that to people. I had she wasn't a classmate, but she was a schoolmate of mine. She'd been several years older. And she married and moved to Limerick. And she had a miserable time. I mean, she had the climate problems I had, but because I had the sporting connection, it was what I have said to people playing sport. It can be a great thing if you move to another country or another area. It can be a great in to be able to get to know people.
Well, tell me about badminton. The badminton that you discovered in Ireland then in the early 60s. Was it structured very differently? Was the standard very different from the States? Was it very much part of Britain and Ireland as a sport? Or
well, it was certainly structured differently. We had no club matches, no league matches. We had tournaments, and we would have played just for fun, maybe 5 times a week.
In America?
In America. But very few matches of any sort. If you didn't go to a tournament, there weren't that many tournaments. So the club situation was totally new, and the court situation was new in some respects, only from the smaller one-court halls. Now, I'd learnt a lot of my badminton in America in private courts, one court, but they were specifically with run back and enough height exactly. So not all the one court halls in and around Dublin had that. But one of the things that I simply couldn't get over was the fact that when you had a league match and you played your doubles, and then you went off and you had a cup of tea and a sandwich before you played your mixed. I couldn't believe that in the middle of any sort of competition this is what went on. And I couldn't even have my tea and my sandwich for months on end until eventually I decided I better join the gang, because it was just so wrong. That was the most ridiculous.
And was that because you were so competitive that you couldn't? No, well, I just thought,
I'm here, I'm playing badminton and I have a match and I have another match, and I wouldn't stop to have a cup of tea in the middle of my matches.
So what sort of mentality then did you bring to the kids when you started coaching badminton here? Because you got very involved in coaching.
I got very involved. The first winter I was here, I couldn't believe there was nothing for the children over Christmas. And I actually was prepared to run, and the hall was here by then. Obviously it was 6-7 years old. And I said I would run a class for children, so I ran it for that Christmas and every other Christmas for many years. I was also very surprised that when I was sort of talking about children playing, that the girls who played, you couldn't have girls playing before they're 16. It wouldn't be good for them.
Really?
I said, what? Oh no. So that was something totally totally foreign to me, because there had been children's classes going on in America, and you take them by the time they were 8, but to think that they were not allowed to play.
So did you manage to change that, or how did it
Well,
change?
I opened it up, and if they came, they came, and they did without any problems. But that was a bit of a shock that was the outlook.
Did you enjoy coaching?
Yes. Now, I say that, it sounds if I don't really totally mean it, but that is not the case. I enjoyed coaching the better players who I felt, well, not so much in standard, but whether whatever age, if they were the better players who were keen, and I felt they would understand what I was talking about and could perhaps make an effort to do it. I enjoyed that. One thing I said that really I don't see myself ever being able to do is teaching bad adults. Now, I am now finishing my 20th year teaching a group of wonderful ladies in Leixlip who you could only describe as bad adults.
And how
but
come?
It is lovely, and
Yes.
I have enjoyed it enormously.
Yeah. When you look at that, the bad adults inviting girls less than 16 to come along, also coaching some girls or some kids in general, I suppose, who were talented. Overall, what's given you your greatest satisfaction from coaching? Is there any one particular person, or was there one period, or was there one squad?
I don't think there's any one particular person, definitely. I think the satisfaction is having explained or shown or talked to somebody about some aspect of the game, seeing them being able to do it. And that, I think, is really the greatest thing. And this happens with the bad adults as well. In fact, in many ways, it's almost more satisfactory that they have been able to do something that you really weren't at all sure they could do.
Why don't we have people winning the All England now?
I think there's obviously more than one reason. One thing would be they don't see good play. And I can remember watching the US tennis. It would have been Forest Hills, and being not there, watching it on television, and going down to the club either that night or the next day, and playing the best tennis I'd ever played. I'd just seen it done, and I think we really have a terrible shortage of any chances of people seeing how it's done. You tell somebody about badminton, you tell them what can happen and how you do it. They've never seen it done, and I think that is one of our problems. I think perhaps there aren't enough people who are willing to give up other things to pursue for a while anyway. If they want to get better, you've got to give up things, or else not start them. I never felt I was giving up anything, but I hadn't started other things, and badminton was what I wanted to do, or tennis, because it was one or other for 12 months of the year. But I think that is very lacking.
You don't think it's any physique thing, like that there are so many wonderful Far Eastern players, but then on the other hand there are still wonderful Danes, English players as well?
Yes. No, I don't think so. I mean, not every physique is cut out for it, certainly. But I don't think as a nation that should make any difference whatsoever. There are good athletes. We've seen them in all sorts of things, good Irish athletes. So it's not we don't have them. It's just trying to get them perhaps to think badminton might be a nice game to play and keep the good athletes in it.
When you were small, you were the daughter of a phenomenally wonderful badminton player. And then when you had children, they were the daughter of two fantastic badminton players. What about them? Did you want them to play? Did you encourage them a lot? Did you turn into a badminton mother?
I hope not. I was happy that they were playing, and that they enjoyed it, and that I could perhaps help them as much as possible. But I would not have pushed. Just, that's great. I'm glad, I'll take you if you want to go, and you come to whatever it is. But not, oh, you're a brilliant player. That's one of the problems, I think, with parents. Their children, their particular child is brilliant, and it's going to be wonderful, and all that. I think that's a terrible thing to do to any child. And you turn them off. Two things you could do. You can do that, or you can say you must play, and you must go to this tournament, and you must do this, and you must do that. If you ever wanted a child to not do that particular thing, it could be music, it doesn't have to be sport, then I think that's the way to go about it.
Even though you say you were just encouraging, and I'm sure you did encourage them as much as you can, it's not easy though to sit and watch your own child playing. Did you find it tense when you watched them competing?
That was not, no, that you're quite right. It is not easy. And I think, looking back on it, I had thought of this before, the attitude, the reaction perhaps to myself and Judy as youngsters and our own children here. With very few exceptions, I never got the feeling that my parents' friends were jealous, or that my friends were jealous of us. I feel there was a bit that our children had to go through, because I suppose we were both very prominent, and it was an important game, small as it is, it was a more important game here than in Baltimore, Maryland.
So you, in effect, they had to carry the burden,
I think
of being your children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe they had to carry a burden, which I didn't feel that Judy and I had to.
Yeah. Have they ended up, though, still involved in the game?
They are still playing. Pam in particular, who's now moved into the Veterans League, but is obviously wanting to continue, and has the time in which she can. Mark has less time, but is rooted out, I think, for matches, and quite enjoys some of his competition, and even playing when he can fit in an hour during work times, and getting a bit of exercise, and having a bit of a confrontation with some pal over some singles game.
And what about the grandchildren?
Well, I don't know. They're a bit young. I hope they will play socially and enjoy it. That would be all I would want for them, because I think some other sport is, if they want a sport. I think they are both sporty, all right, but I would like to think of them playing for fun anyway.
Finally, Sue, you've got some wonderful trophies in the house here. If you were to just pick one that means the most to you, or one thing that brings back a really special memory, can you think of what it would be?
Certainly the one that I have would be an All England perpetual trophy, which meant that it went on from year to year. But there was the opportunity, if you won it, and this was for any of the 5 events, if you won it 3 times in a row, you could retire it and keep it, and somebody would have to produce another one. Or if you won it 4 times in all. And my father had 2 of them, I think, at least 2 of them. I have one of his, actually, and Judy has another one. But in 1961, Judy and I retired the trophy. We won it for the 4th time, and that would be the one that I would not like to leave behind. But can I just say one thing on that? The current one, now this is brought to mind particularly because the All England was only a week ago. And the current one, after after we won ours, it was no longer possible to win them outright. So they went on, and they are not, I don't believe, actually given to the players, but they are presented at the finals. And when I watched the ladies' doubles last week, I saw the two salvers, and I know my name is on it twice.